Which of these towers, if I let it go, will stay standing? The one on the left? The one on the right? Maybe both, or none of them. Today, we'll learn how to tell whether a tower of bricks, not glued but simply stacked one on top of another, is destined to remain standing or to collapse. Ready? Let's begin. Do you already know the principle that determines the equilibrium of a body resting on a horizontal plane? The idea is simple. If its center of mass lies vertically above the base of support, the body stays in equilibrium. If it falls outside the base of support, the body tips over. More precisely, the center of mass must lie above the smallest convex area that contains all the contact points. That's why we can stand with our feet apart. But what is the center of mass? It is the point in space that, by definition, averages the mass distribution of one or more bodies. The laws of dynamics apply to the center of mass, so it is not surprising that the stability of a single brick depends on the position of the special point which the weight force pushes downward. There are formulas and theoretical methods to determine its position, but there are also more hands-on approaches. One method uses gravity. If we hang an object from a string, its center of mass will lie along the vertical direction of the string. Repeating the operation from another point, the center of mass is the intersection of the two verticals. Another method is to find the point where the object can be balanced on a finger. At that instant, the center of mass lies exactly above the contact point. A third method, very useful for rods, exploits friction. Place the rod horizontally on the fingers of both hands and slowly bring the hands together. The hand that is farthest from the center of mass will keep sliding until eventually the center of mass lies at the meeting point of the hands. If you know other tricks like these, tell me in the comments, I'm always curious. In this video, we'll use identical bricks shaped like rectangular blocks with uniform mass. For these bricks, the center of mass coincides with the center of symmetry, which can be found by intersecting the diagonals. Okay, how do we build stable towers with these bricks? Let's look at this instructive tower. Every brick was placed carefully so that the center of mass of each one lies above the support area with the brick beneath. Taken individually, they are all balanced, and yet the tower collapses. Why? What are we missing? Let's watch the collapse again. Do you see this point of separation? It seems that the four bricks at the top cause it. Together, they unbalance the system. If we consider them as a single body, their center of mass could indeed lie outside the support area of the fifth block. And this would explain the collapse. But is that really the case? Yes, and that is the key point. The stability of a tower is not studied brick by brick, but by considering each time the whole group of upper blocks. Start with the topmost brick. Its center of mass must be above the support with the one below. If that test is passed, consider the top two bricks together and check that their combined center of mass is above the third. If that test is also good, move to the top three bricks and verify that their combined center of mass lies above the fourth, and so on. If all these tests from top to bottom are passed, the tower is stable. If a test fails, we know exactly where the separation will occur and on which side the tower will fall. One question remains. How do we find the combined center of mass of two or more blocks? Let's see. Take two bodies with masses m1 and m2 and centers of mass c1 and c2. The center of mass of the system does not lie at the midpoint of the segment joining them, but a point that is a weighted average, closer to the heavier body. The ratio between the distances from the two centers is d1 is to d2 as m2 is to m1. For example, if the masses are 2 and 5, we can divide the segment C1-C2 into 7 equal parts and place the center of mass so that there are 2 parts on one side and 5 on the other, closer to the heavier body. We will apply this procedure to our bricks, but it holds in much more general contexts. For instance, it is the same method used to find the center of mass of the Earth-Moon system, which does not coincide with the center of the Earth, but lies about 4,700 kilometers away from it. Technically, it's not the Moon that orbits the Earth alone, but bodies orbit around this point. In the animation you are now seeing, the body sizes are in proportion, while the distance is not to scale. To show you the actual scale, I would have to shrink Earth and Moon to a few pixels on your screen. Here is the image with the correct proportions. Now you can see why, in everyday speech, we talk about the Moon orbiting the Earth. Sorry for the space digression, let's come back down to Earth and to our tower, and get to work. Repeat the procedure. Start with C1, the center of mass of the topmost brick. Is it over the base of support? Yes. Test passed. Now consider the top 2 bricks. Since the bricks have the same mass, we can assume their mass equals 1. We join the centers of mass, divide the segment into 2 equal parts, and obtain C2. This combined center of mass also passes the test. Move to the top 3 bricks and use the previous steps. Connect C2, the center of mass of the top 2 bricks, to the center of mass of the third block. Divide the segment into 3 intervals because 3 is the sum of the masses, and identify C3 by leaving one interval of distance from C2. C3 also passes the test, being vertically above the support with the fourth brick. Is the pattern clear? Each new center of mass, Cn, is obtained by joining the previous center Cn-1 to the center of mass of the last added block, then dividing the segment into n parts and placing Cn one of those intervals away from Cn-1. Here we use the fact that the bricks have equal mass, so the ratio between the previously grouped bricks and the added brick is n-1 to 1. This time, something different happens. C4 does not lie above the support with the fifth brick. That means there is no equilibrium. The center of mass of the 4 bricks is shifted too far to the right, and indeed, the tower will fall in that direction, just as we observed. So what about the 2 initial towers? Will one be stable? Both? Neither? Here is the illustration I used to build them. In a moment I will give you a couple of tricks to make them, if like me your hands are not perfectly steady. Let us reconstruct the procedure. C1, test passed. We build C2 by joining C1 to the center of mass of the second block and dividing into 2 intervals. All good. We build C3 by dividing the new segment into 3 parts. This test works too. I won't keep you in suspense. Know that in the description you will find worksheets to practice. If you are a teacher, try them with your class. I often use them in the first year of high school, and they work very well to give concreteness to the concept of center of mass, which otherwise risks remaining an abstract paragraph in physics books. It's a simple lab, and students enjoy it. When building real towers, be careful. The construction is stable from the top down and should be assembled that way. Although, personally, I prefer to build the tower horizontally. And then lift it up with the help of a rigid board. Know that you can build towers that few would bet on, just like the two initial towers. Strange but true, both towers pass all the tests down to the base. Some centers of mass are really close to the edge, but they still lie over the support area. And indeed, those towers do not fall. There is no trick, no deception. Try it yourselves.
Jenga, I win!
With today's information, you can also generalize to towers that use all three dimensions, using different bricks, or creating multiple columns. Experiment, play and think. It's fun and rewarding. If you have questions, write them in the comments, check the worksheets, and in the meantime, don't panic.